Well, welcome back, everyone, to She Knows, a show shining a light on amazing women doing amazing things. I've got a superstar guest with me today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her and then introduce her. I can't wait to share her story with you. So she is employee number 40 at Finder. This is one of Australia's largest businesses. You've no doubt seen it on TV, on the radio. You've read about it in the news. So she's been there pretty much since ground zero. She's also a board member at Pep Talker. She's been a contributor at Mumbrella. She's a wife and proud mother of two, to a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old. She's getting it done in lockdown, and she's also the COO at Shebesta Ventures. It's Michelle Hutchison. How are you?
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure, and it's great to have you on the show all the way from sunny Sydney. Is it shining sun there at the moment?
Oh, it's beautiful this week. We've seen some sunshine. It's getting warmer. Spring is here.
So obviously, Michelle, you're managing, Shebesta Ventures. You've got some exposure there to Finder and Fred and his massive team. And obviously, you've worked in big teams throughout your entire career. How have you found the transition and sort of managing people's well-being and just being able to get through this complete adjustment all of a sudden? Or maybe that might have been something that you saw Finder and the Ventures team doing already pre-COVID.
Yeah, I think Finder's been, obviously, I've been at Finder for 8 years, so it's a really incredible company and business to work in. And the flexibility has been incredible. Being a mother, it's been super important to be flexible, and it's been like that from the beginning, and I think 40% of our crew around the world is distributed and work from home and remote, and that was pre-COVID. So we were always set up with the technology and the culture to be able to work from home. So when we went into lockdown the first time, it was a really smooth transition, but obviously communication had to change and be increased, and people's well-being was more at the forefront, and so that was really interesting. And I think this time round, I think for the most part people have been used to it. They know what to expect. They've done it before, but not to say that it hasn't been hard and difficult for most people. I think just being able to reach out to people, make sure you're consciously checking in with people and making sure everyone is okay and wants to have a chat and be around has been really good.
Yeah, awesome. Now I have to ask you, this is what we ask every guest at the start of the episode. What does a typical day in the life of Michelle Hutchison look like? Now I know, we're all sort of facing a similar day to a degree. So maybe you can give me an insight into, what a typical day looked like at Shebesta Ventures pre and post COVID, and also from a personal point of view with your family life.
Okay, sure. So a typical day for me at the moment would be, and usually for pre-COVID as well, getting the kids ready for school, and getting everyone ready and, set for the day. And then checking the calendar first thing in the morning and making sure, Fred has everything he needs and knows where he's at and what interviews and media things and shoots or whatever he has on in the day, and making sure he turns up for them, or rescheduling if he's had other things come up, helping with his social media and making sure we've got some content to go out for the day. There's a lot of random things come up in my day. I've got one of those jobs where it's really hard to describe. I've always found it difficult over, especially now where I'm really focused on Fred's brand and doing some really fun things and projects. But I also get pulled into projects and things that happen in Finder as well, which I really like, that how it's very dynamic and always different. And I'm kind of outside Finder since November. Gosh, when did we start? Over a year now. November 2019 we started Shebesta Ventures, and then went into lockdown and didn't do all the things we wanted to do, but we've done some really cool things. And so it really changes every day.
Yeah. And now you're a mum, right? So you would be a ninja when it comes to time efficiency. And you mentioned there that you've also got to manage, Fred and all his endeavors and what you're doing at Shebesta Ventures. How have you gotten better at managing your time continually? Are there one or two hacks or things that you try to implement in your day that just give you that extra level of efficiency? Because, we all get the same 24 hours.
Absolutely. I think when I first started at Finder, I came from another comparison site and I came into the team to run the Australian PR team. We didn't have one at the time, so it was all very new. It was a really quiet, new kind of business 8 years ago. And it wasn't really, there was no, relationships with press. They weren't really doing anything. And I established relationships before I came in. So I thought, this is going to be easy. I'm just going to come right in and take over. And I came in and I found it really difficult to just regain and rebuild that trust from the ground up. And I think a couple of months in, I realized that if I'm going to make this work and get to the level that I want to be at, for me personally and in this role, I need to put in some extra hours and extra effort. So I started to do a couple of hours in the evenings here and there. And that's when I really, I think, took myself to the next level. And it took me a long time to really encourage other people to do that, because I didn't want to, I just worried about other people and crew and team members feeling like they had pressure, that they had to work extra hours. But what I realized over time, and what has that has given me success, is to do it's about what you want to do. So I encourage people to do it. I encourage people to put in that extra effort, and you can exponentially grow in your career, in mastering your craft, in doing the things that you want to do, in, getting that promotion, learning new things. Put in that effort. And it's not about overworking and, putting in, hours and not getting paid for them. It's not about that. It's about what you put in, you will get out of it.
I love that. So tell me, right, this sounds like it's almost ingrained in you, or something that's always been there, but you've really switched it on. If you think back to your earlier days, who were some of those key role models growing up, and some of those key female role models?
I think growing up, role models to me would have been my teachers. They were the ones that were encouraging me to learn and encouraging me to do better. My parents as well. But, I weren't really exposed to, a business life, or, I worked since I was 14 and 9 months and couldn't wait to start earning a living. And I was in takeaway shops and Pizza Hut and then retail. I was at Jag and Q, and I worked a lot and really hard, and I loved it. I loved selling, and I think, I've always had a really strong work ethic. Both my parents worked. And so, I think it would have come down to my teachers.
Yeah, I love that. Now I have to ask, have there been any, gender specific challenges you've faced yourself through your career, or maybe you've witnessed others face, that you've really wanted to try and impact and make a difference in those scenarios?
I think I've been really lucky, because I haven't had sexual harassment or, gender discrimination. I don't know. I've always felt, this might come across really weird, but I haven't felt like a woman, in terms of feeling different to a man and feeling like I have different expectations or inequality because of my gender. I haven't seen gender looking at in my professional life and going into work and, feeling any different to any other, man or, that I've worked with. And I feel really lucky, because as I've worked, the longer I've been in my career, I come across more and more stories of gender inequality and sexual harassment. And it's really sad, and it's a really big thing out there. And so, I think I've been really lucky. I know there's a lot of women, have had that experience.
Yeah, totally. So if you were to rewind back to some of those first entry level, beginning career positions, and now seeing where you are today, are there still things that you see or witness or observe that you wish could be changed, or if they could just change, you can see how they'd make a really big impact for other women coming through and might speed things up for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is workplace flexibility, and some of the workplaces, and weren't there for very long because it was such a horrible culture. And when it's a horrible culture and it's super inflexible and there's too much expectation on people to be in the office at this time, and you're not allowed to leave until this time, and you have to have meetings before this time because that time is your work time. It's just ridiculous. It really is. And I think COVID probably has helped a lot of companies realize and understand that workplace flexibility is a thing that people need. It's not a want, it's not a luxury, it's something we need in our lives. And, I'm so grateful. The other day I was having a really off day, and by the afternoon, I just, I needed a break. And so I knew that if I could have a break now and, take a couple of hours off early, I can get back online at 8 p.m. and do a few more hours, and I'll feel better. I'll be more productive. I'll be super efficient and I'll get lots done. And I did. And I do that often, not that often, but, sometimes when you need it, you have that opportunity to do that. It's just an incredible feeling. You feel more value. You feel like you're more empowered to be able to do your job well at the best of your ability, and you want to put in that extra effort because you're looked after. And I think the companies that don't do that are really losing out. They're losing out on talent, retention, and talent, attraction, and yeah, they're not going to be able to, keep up with, especially a new generation of talent and young people coming through, and just have that expectation.
Yeah, that's a great point. Is there a couple of amazing women, maybe from afar or maybe even close, that we may not know about to you, that you really admire or right now are doing amazing things?
I think there's so many out there. Maggie Palmer, she's at Pep Talk Her. She was a journalist and then, moved to New York, and she's, was discriminated against for gender inequality, and decided to create an entire business around it to help other women. And I think that's phenomenal. I think, there's just so many out there that are doing really incredible things. Taryn Williams is another one who I admire. I think, there's so many out there, and they're doing things to help other women. It's just, it's really empowering.
So you're an advisory board member of Pep Talk Her. Tell us exactly, what's it all about? What does it do?
Pep Talk Her is an app, but it also does other things. They do, events, and they do workshops and courses, and really builds a community around women to empower them to understand how to have those conversations with their employers, to know what their rights are, and their and training and development in leadership, and giving women the confidence to know that they can do what they want and can achieve great success, and the gender doesn't have anything to do with it. And I think there's a lot of women out there that for some reason don't have the confidence, which is really sad, and they have experienced some kind of gender inequality, or they've experienced trying to get funding, and they're up against these awful statistics that discourage them from starting a business and discourage them from being able to do what they want to do in life. And it's apps and companies like Pep Talk Her that help women realize that the opportunities are endless and they can do it.
Yeah. Michelle, what is or are your biggest fears?
My biggest fears? Do you know one that was when I worked inside Finder? I told Fred once.
Sounds like you're happy to be outside.
Oh no, I love Finder. I don't feel like I'm outside. I have to say, I'm 100% inside Finder. That's for sure. But it was when it was. I guess I'm saying it because it was, based on working in a website, solely on a website. I said to Fred one day, what if there was no internet? Like, what if internet just turned off? We wouldn't have a job. We wouldn't have a company. So those kinds of things scare me. I think from a business perspective, I don't know. I probably have fears like anyone else.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that's a pretty big one, but the internet dying also kind of excites me to a degree because it can be quite refreshing, at least for a little while anyway.
I don't know about that.
Maybe just the social media part at times, Now, I have to ask, you mentioned earlier some of those secrets to your success with your time efficiency. I wonder if there's some you could share with us around being a mum and being a wife. Like, are there some secrets to getting a good balance going there? You talked about your flexibility with your work and working in and around your family. But it's a journey for all of us as a parent. But what are some things that you've maybe adapted recently that have helped you get better and better?
I think I was thinking about this question, and I've mentored some women over the years, and what I've found, I found disturbing that a lot of them there's a theme that a lot of them have this concern about. They're young, they don't have a family yet, they're not married yet, and they say to me, how am I going to do it? How am I going to have a family? How am I going to have kids and do this career path that I want to do? And that really scares them. But it scares me more to think that that's a worry for them. For me, I think maybe it's because I've been lucky to have a supportive partner, my husband, who we've always discussed and communicated how we can do things together as a unit, and in terms of building careers. And when we had kids, I guess his career he's a teacher, and he took I guess a back seat in to keep continuing his career into being promoted into other roles in the schools, because it was just easier to have someone being able to pick up kids, and one of us to be able to do that more. And now I don't think we've swapped. I think he's been, now the kids are older, he's been able to take on more and become an assistant principal and do other things that he felt like he couldn't really do earlier. But I think from the beginning we've really tried to be equals and really shared the load. And I think that's what it comes down to. It's like you're having kids, but you're not having kids on your own. You're having kids hopefully with someone who you can share the load with. And it shouldn't be on the woman's responsibility to raise children. And, I think that I've been perhaps, lucky that I've been able to not worry about that in a sense. And
makes a lot of sense.
Saddens me that other women, young women out there in their 20s, early 20s, are really worried about this. And I just want them to know that you can do anything you want to do. And it's achievable, and you don't have to worry about it, because if you have a supportive workplace, or you start your own business, and you have a supportive partner and family, you can do it.
That's excellent. And I have to ask, you're talking about speaking to a young 20-year-old woman who's maybe embarking upon that phase of their life soon. If you could, or if you have in the past, gift a book or something that you've read that's really impacted you, you think could be worthwhile and valuable to them, is there one particular author or book that comes to mind?
Oh, absolutely. I don't have it with me right now in this room, but I helped Fred write his book, Go Live, 10 Principles to Launch a Global Empire.
Go live, baby. I love it.
Yeah, that was
this
so much fun.
is this the book where when you buy it you can win Bitcoin?
That's right. There
I
are.
love
There's
it.
still 10 golden tickets, Bitcoin golden tickets up for grabs. It was worth $1,000, but it's now like 13. It's probably gone down a little bit at the moment, but there's 10 tickets. They all have different values. And I mean, the book is such a great read, though. It has so many stories, and every chapter is a principle that you can adapt in your own life to really reach that next level. No matter if you're learning to be a leader inside an organization, you're learning to lead a project, you're learning to start a project, or take on your own business, no matter what it is. These are principles that Fred uses in his personal life and his business. And they're really powerful. I'm getting a lot of feedback from people who were saying, they're doing this now, or they've just registered their business, or, I think it's about people need that kind of push, that inspiration to go, you know what, is this all it takes to do it? Just start and see what happens, because the first step is always the hardest, what I've learned from Fred in his book. And there's so much fear that people have before starting. So once you start, it's like, what's the worst that could happen? And then that's one thing that Fred does. What's the worst that could happen? And once you break that down and map out scenarios, that kind of, for some reason, gives you the confidence to go live and start. And I think, it's a really powerful book, and it's a really entertaining read. It's not, theory and heavy and, hard to follow. That's definitely one. But another one that I really enjoyed was Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. I know that's quite a famous one. That one has a lot of, it's quite heavy in terms of, it's got a lot of research, but there's a lot of stories in it as well, personally from Sheryl, of things like, one thing that stuck out for me was when she was pregnant, she realized that there were no, it was really hard to park at her workplace and walk really far. And so she lobbied to have some car spaces, not just for disabled, but also for pregnant women. And then she went through the guilt of knowing that she only realized that when she was pregnant, and then only doing it for herself, but it wasn't for herself. And I went through a similar thing when I was pregnant with my second at Finder, and we didn't have it was still very startup at the time, and we didn't have a paid parental leave policy in place. So I put it to Fred and Frank, and they said, yeah, go do some research and tell us, what we should do. And I talked to some friends at some of the biggest tech companies in the world, in Australia, and they, one friend suggested I study the big companies' policies, and then put some a framework around a proposal or suggestion of what the big ones are doing. And I took it to Frank, and the really cool thing that Frank said to me was, this is a great benchmark, but we don't want to be a benchmark. We don't want to be a benchmark against others. We want to be better. And that's what I've always loved about Finder. And so we got a policy in place.
I love that.
And there was other women who were pregnant at the time. So it was really nice to be able to put that in. I think that's what I love about Finder. It's that, it's not just flexibility about time. It's flexibility in what you do, what you want to do, and I think that's one of the values of, really empowering people to encourage them to do what they want. We've had people who have changed careers inside Finder. We had an office manager that turned into a developer, and we paid for their course to go and learn how to do that. They come back as a developer, and
do they look different?
No. And maybe a bit more techie. No. But she was incredible. And we've had people move from different departments and teams, and there's one mentioned in Fred's book actually of JT Justin. He moved in from PR to now he's in product management.
Wow.
And but it's like, you have the opportunity, if you want to do something, get involved in a different project or team or try something new, I guess, there's no limit in what you can do. And I think no matter what business you're in, there is always that opportunity to do that. No matter where you work, you can always put your hand up. You can always see something better or a problem inside the company and find, and think of a solution, or, see something that others are doing that, hey, why don't we do this here? And I love how we're encouraged to do that at Finder, but I feel like anyone can do that inside their organizations.
So if you could put one thing on a billboard, what would it be?
On a billboard?
Yeah. If it's one quote, one image, one inspirational thing, what would it be?
Oh gosh. I'm trying to think.
For everyone else to see and share in the glory of,
I think it would probably be something like you're only limited by your imagination.
Love that. Feels very Walt Disney, that one. All right, I've got one last question for you because I know we're running out of your precious time. And just for everyone listening and watching, we are going to do this all again as soon as we can get back into our studio. We're going to have Michelle down to Melbourne and we're going to have her in for the round table. So this won't be the last you hear of her. But I want to ask you, is there a particular secret talent that maybe you have that only those really close to you know exists that you're willing to share with a wider audience today?
A secret talent.
Some have said karaoke. Some have said chess. Some have said being really good at finding Where's Wally in a Where's Wally book.
Talent. I like that one. I love painting.
Wow,
I don't paint enough. I definitely should allocate more time in my life to paint. I painted in high school and then a little bit after that, and not often enough. It's something, when I was in year 12, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was encouraged to go to uni as a fallback plan, but I wanted to open an art gallery. And I feel like one day that's still possible. Maybe an online one. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something I want to do more in the future.
Do you paint now?
Do you know what? I think 2020 New Year's resolution, I said I'm going to paint every week. And I'm still halfway through a painting I started in January 2020. I haven't touched it.
That's awesome.
Really, really sad.
Yeah. Oh, but it's great to hear that you picked it back up. And that's the first step, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So I have to ask, given that you're the COO at Shibesta Ventures and you are just running so much different stuff, how can people not just check you out, but how can people who want to collaborate or jump in and be part of your journey, how can they do that? What would you recommend they do?
I'm on LinkedIn, or you can email me, michelle@fredshibesta.com. Follow Fred. He's more inspirational than me, I think.
There's a certain audience that he lights up, but I can see there's someone pulling the strings and making all the magic happen. So kudos to you.
Oh, thanks. I'll try.
Well, Michelle. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thanks most importantly for giving us your valuable time. And I really hope those who've watched and listened have gotten a couple of key things out of this. You'll be able to read it as a blog article. You'll be able to check it out on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. And I can't wait to have you down in the studio and we can do it all again. Thanks, Michelle.
I can't wait to be down there as well. Thanks so much for having me.
Pleasure.